"Leave, you useless old ladies who can't even clean properly." My husband and I, who were living with our eldest son and his wife, were giving $3,000 to help with expenses every month. But his wife would often insult us with hurtful words and make life difficult for us. We were fed up and angry. We didn't want anything to do with her anymore and decided to get back at her someday. My name is Susie. I'm 62 years old and work part-time while also taking care of our home. I live with my husband David, who is the same age as me. David works in an office and is a kind and serious man, so we have a stable income and rarely argue. Our son, Lawrence, is 32 years old. He's just like his dad, kind-hearted and responsible. After finishing university, he got a job at a private company and is working hard. 2 years ago, he married a woman named Emily, whom he met at work. However, it turned out that Emily was actually a very mean person. When we first met her, she appeared to be serious and nice. Lawrence assured us that she was hardworking at her job and had a good relationship with her bosses. Emily is 6 years younger than Lawrence, and although we weren't sure if they would get along, we trusted Lawrence's judgment. After they got married, Lawrence and Emily moved into their own apartment. Emily promised to take care of all the household chores so Lawrence could focus on his work. Lawrence seemed appreciative of her help. He often said, "Thanks to Emily taking care of everything at home, I can concentrate on my job." I'm grateful. My husband and I believed that our son had chosen a good wife. But Emily's true nature began to emerge gradually. We had a family gathering for New Year's, and when I saw Emily, I didn't even recognize her at first. She looked completely different. The last time I saw her, she had black hair and wore minimal makeup, appearing reserved. But now, she had transformed into a bold woman with pink hair, wearing loud bracelets on her wrists. She seemed like a whole different person. My husband, David, and the rest of our family were surprised by Emily's drastic change. Lawrence tried to smooth things over. "I'm sorry if this caught you off guard." I was also surprised when I came home from work one day to find Emily like this. But she manages the household well, and we don't have any problems. Plus, Emily is a full-time homemaker. Can we overlook this? After hearing Lawrence's explanation, I felt a weight lifted off my shoulders. Well, if Lawrence is fine with it, then so am I. I was just taken aback by how different Emily looks now. It's not fair to judge someone solely based on appearances, and it's not my place to complain. My family seemed to agree with my sentiment. Later, we all had a good time drinking together until Emily caused a scene. She got extremely drunk and started hurling insults at everyone around her. "You dare to defy me?" I once took down 3 classmates at once back in middle school. It became evident that she had a tendency to become aggressive when intoxicated. She even directed hurtful words at me and David, yelling, "Stop clinging onto life needlessly, you old pests. Nobody is pleased that you're still alive." Her words cut deep. There's a limit to what's acceptable, even under the influence of alcohol. David looked furious, and Lawrence was visibly shocked. "Hey, even for a drunken conversation, you've crossed the line. Apologize." However, Emily didn't even listen to Lawrence. "You dump all the chores on me, then have the guts to lecture me, a weakling like you. I could take you down in a heartbeat." Emily kept on with her verbal assault, causing chaos and trouble for everyone around. Eventually, she passed out from the alcohol and the tension eased, but the mood remained sour. Everyone was furious with Emily. Then one of the relatives brought up Emily's earlier claim about defeating classmates. Was she a troublemaker in the past? They asked. "No," Lawrence replied. "Emily graduated from a public university. I always thought she was a serious person." But the relative remained doubtful. "Do we have any proof she's been on the straight and narrow? Maybe we should dig into Emily's past to see what kind of person she really is." I agreed with the idea. "It might be worth looking into," I said. Lawrence promised to investigate further. Since Emily had no living parents and few ties to her relatives, he decided to hire a private investigator. The investigation uncovered that Emily had been quite rebellious during her middle school years and even led a group of troublemakers. She was so infamous that even the local troublemakers followed her lead since she was in 9th grade. Concerned about her future, Emily started to put on a more serious facade. Despite graduating from a public university, she remained connected with her rowdy group of friends. Even now, when Lawrence was at work, Emily would invite these troublesome friends over, causing disturbances that annoyed the neighbors. It became clear that Emily was hiding her true nature. She was indeed a troublemaker. Frustrated by this behavior, Lawrence brought up the idea of divorce. However, Emily reacted with tears and pleading. "I'm sorry. I'll change and be more serious. Please forgive me. I need you, Lawrence. Please don't leave me." She even reverted to her old appearance and deleted her friends' contacts from her phone right in front of Lawrence. She apologized to the relatives she had upset during the New Year's gathering and repeatedly called me to apologize. Seeing her efforts, Lawrence began to reconsider his decision. As a result, Lawrence and Emily decided not to divorce and opted to continue their married life. Since Lawrence was the one married to Emily, my husband, and I felt it wasn't our place to interfere too much. So we respected Lawrence's decision. When I saw Emily again at the family summer gathering, she seemed to have become a more serious person, and I hoped things would be fine from then on. However, one day while I was at my part-time job, I strained my back while lifting a heavy object. The pain was so severe that I couldn't move. My colleagues rushed me to the hospital, where I was diagnosed with a significant back strain and advised to rest. When I called Lawrence to tell him about it, he suggested something unexpected. "Why don't you come and live with us? Both Emily and I, along with Dad, could take care of you. At your age, incidents like these might happen more often, and it would be better if we were there to help." As I pondered the idea, it seemed like a sensible solution. Once my back pain had subsided, my husband, Lawrence, Emily, and I sat down and discussed the idea of living together. We all agreed it made sense, especially considering our spacious single-family home. With no space issues, Lawrence and Emily moved in with us, and we began our shared living arrangement. Initially, everything went smoothly. Emily took on half of the household chores, which lightened my load significantly. My husband and I contributed financially, providing around $3,000 each month to cover expenses. Although my part-time job limited my financial contribution, I wanted to ease the financial strain on Lawrence and Emily as much as possible. However, Emily's behavior started to change gradually. She began claiming she wasn't feeling well and started pushing more of the household responsibilities onto me. Initially, I believed her and took on the extra chores, but I soon noticed inconsistencies. She appeared perfectly healthy, eating hearty meals and even going out for leisure activities all day. Feeling perplexed, I confronted Emily gently, expressing my concerns. "I hate to question this, but are you truly unwell? You seem energetic and spend a lot of time outside." Emily's response was a fierce glare. "Why are you doubting me?" she snapped. "If you keep this up, I'll give you a piece of my mind." I was taken aback by her coarse language. It was evident she felt no remorse. She was likely only pretending to change to avoid losing Lawrence. Emily, sensing my shock, scoffed, "Are you scared, Aria?" "Well, get used to it. I've played the quiet girl for too long. It's time for me to be myself." "You're aware of the consequences if you continue, right, Emily?" It seemed Emily had used intimidation tactics before, perhaps during her school days. This behavior had carried over into adulthood, where she could manipulate others to get her way. While I couldn't deny feeling afraid of Emily, I hadn't lived 62 years to be pushed around. Holding my ground, I warned her sternly, "If your behavior crosses the line, it could be considered a crime, you know? I'm not here to obey your orders like a robot. If you push too far, I won't hesitate to involve the authorities." Emily appeared surprised by my unexpected response, but she quickly fired back, "Shut up, old woman. I'll never forgive you." Her outburst startled David and Lawrence, who rushed to see what was happening. They were both home since it was their day off. After briefly explaining the situation, David and Lawrence frowned. It was decided that the four of us would discuss the matter. "Diva." David addressed Emily firmly. "Firstly, apologize to Susie." However, Emily refused to apologize. Instead, she crossed her arms defiantly. "Why should I apologize to an old woman? I thought Susie would handle the household chores, so I agreed to live together. But my workload hasn't decreased as I expected. It's only gotten worse." Emily's next words were even more shocking. "No matter what anyone says, I won't change. From now on, you'll all do as I say. Oh, but Susie and David are useless. You two old hags can leave since you don't even contribute to the household chores." Her words ignited a fire within me. I've had it with this woman. I resolved firmly to seek revenge. My usually calm husband seemed equally furious, his face flushed with anger. "Should we leave now feeling the same?" he asked. "Or should I distance myself from Emily immediately?" I nodded in agreement, saying, "Yes, let's go." My husband and I swiftly packed our belongings and left without delay. Although we said we were moving out, we couldn't take large items like dressers, so we planned to return for them later. Lawrence mentioned he still needed to talk to Emily, so he chose to stay behind. My husband and I headed to a budget hotel for the time being. We didn't own another house, and we didn't want to burden our friends, so we opted to stay there until we found a new place. The next morning, Emily began bombarding my cell phone with calls starting at 8 a.m. Initially, I considered ignoring them, but her persistence was relentless, with 20 calls in just 1 hour. Though I regretted not blocking her number sooner, I felt a twinge of curiosity about her intentions, prompting me to answer once. "Hello, is this Susie?" Emily's voice sounded unnaturally sweet on the other end. Instantly, I sensed mischief brewing, and frankly, it gave me the creeps. From her serious demeanor to her sudden shift to a cutesy persona, I couldn't help but wonder how many faces Emily could wear. Regardless, one thing was clear. I couldn't trust her, no matter which version showed up. Realizing the futility of continuing the conversation, I simply replied, "No, thank you," and promptly ended the call. I blocked her number and barred her from all messaging apps to prevent further contact. My husband, observing my actions, followed suit. As a united front, we decided to cut off all communication from Emily indefinitely. Later in the afternoon, Lawrence called me. "Mom, I've divorced Emily. I left the house early this morning and just submitted the divorce papers." He explained that when he had informed Emily of his decision the previous night, her response had been dismissive. "Try if you can." With no hesitation, Lawrence proceeded with the divorce. Upon hearing this news, I couldn't help but feel relieved. Staying with someone like Emily would never lead to happiness. I shared with Lawrence that Emily had called earlier, acting strangely cutesy. Lawrence's expression soured at the mention of Emily's behavior. "You know, back when Emily was rebellious, she would resort to acting cute to smooth things over with her boyfriend whenever things got awkward. She's incredibly naive if she thinks that tactic will work now that we're all adults." His sentiment resonated with me completely. "Emily's been cheating too." "What, really?" I was genuinely taken aback. The thought that she would add infidelity to her already despicable behavior was beyond belief. Her claims of illness seemed increasingly dubious to me. She appeared perfectly healthy and went out far too often. Suspecting there was more to her story, I decided to hire a private investigator. The results were shocking. Emily had been cheating with an unknown man. Lawrence even provided photographic evidence showing Emily kissing a young man in public, his green hair making him stand out. I warned Emily that I pursue legal action against her, and I fully intend to. "I'll also seek damages from her affair partner," Lawrence informed me. As I examined the photos he sent to my phone, Emily's nonchalant attitude in response to the accusations puzzled me. "Then why did she call me?" I pondered aloud. Who knows? Maybe she wanted to know where I was after I moved out. Emily never expected me to leave. She thought if she acted tough and intimidating, I'd stay, Lawrence surmised. But now that I'm gone for real, I think she panicked and tried to win me back. I sighed deeply. Regardless of her motives, I had no desire to aid someone like her. I hoped she would experience the full weight of loneliness on her own. After some time, my husband, Lawrence, and I managed to secure a new apartment where we could all live together. Initially, we contemplated evicting Emily from our old house and returning there. But considering its size and potential vacancy in the future, we deemed it more practical to sell it off. Lawrence agreed, expressing his willingness to part with the property. "Living there isn't a necessity for me. Selling it sounds like the best option," he remarked. As for Emily losing her place, it was of little concern to us. With the help of relatives, we returned to the old house to retrieve our belongings. To our dismay, Emily greeted us with a smug grin, suggesting that we resume living together. I realized I can't bear loneliness. Wouldn't it be better for us all to live together again? Plus, I want to save money and avoid paying Lawrence any alimony, she proposed audaciously. Her bold request ignited my simmering anger. If you're going to make a request, at least do so humbly. This isn't a matter for jest. No matter how you plead, I won't entertain it, I snapped. David, my husband, interjected with a cold tone. We're selling this house, so leave promptly and fulfill your obligations to Lawrence. I could never forgive you. Stop attempting to reignite our relationship." Lawrence echoed his sentiments firmly. Emily's flirtatious facade crumbled at his words. "Lawrence has a stable income, so I initially thought marrying him would allow me to relax and become a housewife. But now, there's no ulterior motive. I truly love Lawrence. And of course, I need both of you, Susie and David," Emily insisted. However, her words did little to quell the seeking anger within us. Mine, David's, and Lawrence's, only serving to stoke the flames further. In that tense moment, a previously silent relative, who had been observing the situation, couldn't remain silent any longer. They interrupted Emily with a firm voice. "Emily, you are a despicable woman. If you have so much to say, why don't we settle this with a fair fight? You seem confident about your strength." With a hint of intimidation, the relative revealed their physical prowess, reminding Emily that they had competed in a national karate competition. This relative in their 30s was well known for their strength, and we had called them in case Emily decided to cause trouble. Sensing the imminent threat, Emily recoiled. No, I don't want to fight. Once you leave, don't ever bother Susie and the rest again. Leave quickly, but before you do, offer a proper apology," the relative warned in a low voice, exuding an intimidating presence. Emily, subdued by the imposing atmosphere, acquiesced with a whimper. Emily's sudden change in demeanor caught us off guard as she swiftly replied, "Yes, I understand. I'll leave immediately. I'll leave all my large belongings here. I'm truly sorry," she groveled. "Good riddance." Packing her belongings and departing, the relative smirked. It was evident that Emily's tough facade crumbled in the face of those she perceived as stronger. As David, Lawrence, and I watched her retreat, we couldn't help but burst into laughter. With the nuisance finally gone, our moving preparations proceeded seamlessly, and we successfully relocated to our new home without any trouble. Following her departure, Emily rented an apartment and began living alone. True to Lawrence's warning, he filed for alimony, which Emily and her lover promptly paid, likely due to the involvement of a lawyer. It appeared that Emily couldn't stand up to someone with greater power, as my relative had predicted. Since then, I've kept my distance from Emily, but I've heard about her activities through various sources. News reports and conversations with acquaintances have painted a picture of Emily's life following her departure. Initially, Emily depleted most of her savings to fulfill her alimony obligations. With plans to marry her former affair partner and rely on his income, she was left in the lurch when he severed all ties. Desperate for stability, she attempted a job at a private company only to quit abruptly after clashing with her boss. In a shameless bid for financial support, she approached me, my husband, and Lawrence at our workplaces, but we steadfastly ignored her pleas, causing her to eventually give up. Facing mounting debt and rejection from her former associates, Emily's desperation led her to assault one of her gang members in a fit of rage, resulting in her arrest and subsequent imprisonment. My husband, Lawrence, and I couldn't help but feel that she had reaped what she sowed. Emily had a history of troublemaking, never showing any remorse for her actions. It seemed only fitting that she face the consequences of her behavior behind bars, where she could hopefully reflect on her choices. In stark contrast, my husband, Lawrence, and I were enjoying peaceful, contented lives. The three of us lived harmoniously together, and we even had plans for a trip on our next extended weekend. Our apartment offered the convenience of easy cleaning and proximity to the station, making it a wise choice for our new home. We were determined to continue cherishing our tranquil existence as a family of three.
I was very sick before, almost died, but I got better and felt like I got a second chance at life. Now, I want to start fresh, but I don't want to take care of an old lady. I helped my husband recover from being sick by donating something, but he never said thank you. Instead, he gave me a card for a divorce lawyer. It didn't really surprise me because he's been going out a lot since he got better. Now I'm the one who's sick. They say I have stomach cancer, but it's not too bad yet. I need surgery and chemotherapy. I'm really scared, and I can't believe my husband is leaving me like this. All the love and trust I had for him are gone. The toughest part is that he's the only dad our daughter Kate knows. I feel bad for her. but I'm too tired to fix things with him because I have to focus on fighting this disease. A month later, my husband called me a lot, being really aggressive, but I didn't answer. Then he surprised me by coming to my hospital room and telling me something shocking. My name is Christy Young, and I'm a 29-year-old housewife. I've been married to Mike, who's a bit older than me, for 5 years. We have a cute 5-year-old daughter named Kate. I used to work full-time even after we got married, but I quit my job when I took a break to have Kate. I wanted to take it easy and raise her, but because of money problems, I had to start working again when Kate could go to daycare. Luckily, my sister-in-law, Lisa, is the boss at an apparel company, and she hired me. Even though I'm family, I wasn't treated specially at work. The atmosphere was nice, and there were other moms, so it was easy to talk about taking care of kids and taking time off for sudden illnesses. I'm really thankful I got a job in such a good place. But it was really hard to manage work, taking care of the house, and looking after Kate. In the morning, I made breakfast and lunch for my husband, sent him off to work, took Kate to daycare, and then went to my job. After work, I picked up Kate, went shopping, did chores at home, bathed Kate, and made dinner. After I finished making food for Kate, my husband came home, so I cooked dinner for him. Even though my days were busy, my husband didn't help much with house chores or taking care of Kate. Even when Kate was sick in the morning, he didn't seem to care and would still ask for his breakfast. When I needed him to do the grocery shopping because I had to work late, he complained about being tired from work. I was tired too, but I didn't have the energy to argue, so I ended up doing everything on my own. Our lives changed suddenly when my husband was told to get a detailed health check after his company's checkup showed some bad results. He didn't want to get retested because he felt okay, but he started feeling uncomfortable with unexplained bruises and bleeding gums. It would be bad if he ignored it, and it turned out to be a serious illness. We had to think about Kate's future, so I asked him to get a thorough checkup, and it turned out he had leukemia. Why is this happening to us? He was surprised to hear a disease name he knew, but nowadays, leukemia is not a hopeless condition. Many people get better with treatments like chemotherapy and bone marrow transplants. I decided to support my husband, who was feeling really down, and stay with him during the treatment. He took a break from work and went to the hospital right away. Meanwhile, I had to handle my job, take care of the house, look after Kate, and support my husband's treatment. I got worn out before he did. The stress from being in the hospital made him angry at me even more than before. And that was one of the reasons. I knew he was upset about the situation, but honestly, I was tired from working, taking care of Kate, doing chores, and visiting the hospital in my free time. That's when Lisa, my sister-in-law, offered to help. "Why did you come live with me? I can help with the housework and take care of Kate." She was the boss at a company, and I knew she was always busy with work. She was hands-on and involved in sales, not just giving orders to others. This made it easier for the staff to share their thoughts. I knew she had a lot on her plate. "I really can't trouble you," I said. "You're busy too," Lisa said. "If you get too tired, Kate will suffer the most, right? I'll help Mike as much as I can. You should lean on those who can help you now," Lisa said firmly, and I couldn't stop my tears. I was worried about Mike, Kate's future, and my own health. Lisa's presence was a huge relief, and her encouraging words comforted me. Mike's parents had already passed away, and Lisa lived alone in her parents' big house. I always thought it was too big for one person. I didn't want to sell it because it holds memories of my parents, but I was glad she invited us to stay there. "You two can come," she warmly welcomed me and Kate. Living with Lisa was really nice. We always got along, and it felt like having a real sister. Lisa, who lived alone for a long time, was good at doing housework. She actively helped, making my life much easier than before. During that time, there was hope for Mike's treatment. I was found to be a good match to donate bone marrow for his transplant. When Mike got diagnosed with leukemia, Lisa and I got tested to be donors. Finding a matching donor is not easy, but the chances are better with siblings. We were sad when we learned that Lissa's marrow wasn't a match, but when we found out that mine could help Mike, he was really happy. I had to stay in the hospital for a few days to give bone marrow. During that time, I had to take a break from work and couldn't take care of Kate. It was tough for Lisa, but she didn't show any annoyance. Thanks a lot for helping my brother. I'll do everything I can to support you, so don't worry. Just take care of yourself now. Lisa encouraged me. I went through surgery to extract bone marrow for my husband. After the surgery, Mike had to stay in a special room to avoid infections and rest. I left the hospital a few days later, and thanks to Lisa's kindness, I took a few more days off work before going back. The stem cells transplanted into Mike seemed to be working well. After a few weeks, he moved to a regular hospital room. When I brought our daughter Kate to visit Mike, there was a nurse in the room. Mike was happy to see Kate after a long time. Mr. Young is getting better. He's still young and strong, so if he keeps improving, he might go back to work soon. Thank you very much, as always, the nurse said with a smile and left. Mike's condition got better, and he was able to leave the hospital a few months later. He still needed to rest at home, but the four of us, including Lisa, started living together in my in-laws' house. I had to stay in the hospital for a few days to give bone marrow. During that time, I had to take a break from work and couldn't take care of Kate. It was tough for Lisa, but she didn't show any annoyance. Thanks a lot for helping my brother. I'll do everything I can to support you, so don't worry. Just take care of yourself now. Lisa encouraged me. I went through surgery to extract bone marrow for my husband. After the surgery, Mike had to stay in a special room to avoid infections and rest. I left the hospital a few days later, and thanks to Lisa's kindness, I took a few more days off work before going back. The stem cells transplanted into Mike seemed to be working well. After a few weeks, he moved to a regular hospital room. When I brought our daughter Kate to visit Mike, there was a nurse in the room. Mike was happy to see Kate after a long time. Mr. Young is getting better. He's still young and strong, so if he keeps improving, he might go back to work soon. Thank you very much, as always, the nurse said with a smile and left. Mike's condition got better, and he was able to leave the hospital a few months later. He still needed to rest at home, but the four of us, including Lisa, started living together in my in-laws' house. Maybe because I pushed myself too hard, my health started getting worse. Eating became difficult, and Lisa noticed I might have lost weight. At this point, Mike had almost fully recovered and was back to work. Even though I didn't have to take care of Mike anymore, the chores and looking after Kate didn't decrease. Even when I wasn't feeling well, Mike, who had a lot of energy again, started going out alone more on his days off. He didn't seem to notice I was unwell and didn't offer to help with the chores. When I asked him where he was going and who he was with, he got mad and said, "I have a private life too." Eventually, the stress made my stomach hurt all the time, and Lisa suggested I get a full checkup. Since Mike had been really sick before, I thought it would be good to catch any issues early for Kate's sake. This time, the doctors found out I had stomach cancer. Luckily, it seemed to be slow growing, but I still needed to go to the hospital and have painful chemotherapy. When I suddenly had to go to the hospital, Kate got worried, but her dad was out, so he couldn't comfort her. Instead, Lisa, my sister-in-law, stayed with Kate so I could get ready for the hospital. While I was getting ready, Lisa took Kate out for some shopping. While I was quietly getting ready, my husband Mike came home. "What's happening? Are you going on a trip?" I was upset because he seemed so carefree. "I have stomach cancer. I've been feeling sick, so I went for a checkup today. That's what the doctors found. I need to stay in the hospital. Hospitalized. What about the house? Are you leaving it all to my sister?" I was surprised that his first worry was not about my health. "Well, this is just great, huh? Let's get a divorce." I was confused and shocked by his sudden request. I had always taken care of him when he was sick, and now that I'm the one who's sick, he wants to leave me. I almost died once, but I got better, and it feels like I got a new chance at life. I want to start fresh. And I don't want to take care of an old lady. Even though I helped Mike recover by being his donor, he never said thank you. Instead, he gave me a divorce lawyer's card. You don't even wear makeup at home. I can't see you as a woman anymore. I'm busy with work, chores, and taking care of Kate. I don't have time for makeup. That's just an excuse. Plus, you have cancer now. I can't handle that. I was surprised by Mike's angry demand to sign divorce papers quickly. I was already worried about the cancer. Despite feeling frustrated and anxious, I wasn't shocked. Since Mike got better, he started going out a lot, and I felt suspicious. With this illness, all my love and trust for him disappeared. What hurt the most was that, for Kate, he was her only dad. I felt bad about making her a child of a single parent, but with the cancer battle ahead, I didn't have the energy to fix things with Mike. Now, we're just like strangers. Mike had a satisfied smile. Is it done? Don't just barge in like that. You're taking too long. Suddenly, a new young woman showed up at the door. She had bold makeup and a stylish dress. She looked beautiful, but when I looked closely, I recognized her face. Are you the nurse from Mike's hospital? It was a bit hard to tell because she wasn't in her uniform, but she was the nurse who took care of my husband. Apparently, she became his girlfriend at some point. Yes, that's me. I took care of him a lot when he was sick, more than you ever did, Mike said proudly. I was shocked by what he said. Taking care of a sick person is what nurses are supposed to do. It felt unfair to be compared to her in that way. Leave this house right now. This is my family's home, Mike said firmly. Yes, it's my husband's family home, but it's now in Lisa's name, my sister-in-law. If I divorce Mike, Lisa and I will become strangers. It's sad to part with Mike, but it's even sadder to be separated from Lisa, who is kind, reliable, and has a good relationship with my daughter Kate. But there's nothing I can do about it. I packed my suitcase with only the important stuff. Besides getting ready for the hospital, I no longer love my husband, and I want to leave this situation as soon as possible. While I was getting ready quietly, Lisa and Kate, who had gone shopping, came back. We're home. Oh, do we have a visitor? Lisa looked surprised to see a lady she didn't know, and Kate, sticking close to Lisa, seemed confused, so I said clearly, I'm going to break up with Mike. Lisa looked just as surprised as I felt. Then, like she figured something out, she gave Kate some snacks she had just bought and told her to eat them in the other room. With only grown-ups around, Lisa stared at my husband right away. What's going on, Mike? Mike looked a bit scared when Lisa, not me, talked to him. He's leaving me to start a new life with that lady over there. Since you and I won't be family anymore, he wants me to go away. Lisa couldn't believe what I said. Christy is having a hard time and you? How selfish can you be? You're the one who should leave. Never show your face to me again. Lisa scolded Mike, who snorted and left the house. The lady looked down at me, smirked, and followed Mike. After they left, Lisa looked at me with a sorry expression. I felt bad for making her, who did nothing wrong, feel like that. Please don't be upset. You've helped me so much, Lisa, and I can't thank you enough. I felt a bit better knowing Lisa had firmly cut ties with Mike. Even if you break up with Mike, I'll always be on your side, Christy. We left the house we lived in before Mike got sick. Since Lisa told Mike to leave, he had no place to go, but he probably planned to live with that lady. Even with insurance and help, Mike might not have much money left after his serious illness. Well, it's not my concern anymore since we'll be strangers. Even though we weren't married anymore, Lisa was still helping me. I needed to go to the hospital, and I thought about leaving Kate with my parents, but I didn't know what to do about transferring her to a new kindergarten. When Lisa said, I'll take care of her, I know Kate will be worried without her mom, and changing schools will make her even more worried. My job is stable right now. I decided to trust her. About a month after I was in the hospital, my phone rang. It was my ex-husband, Mike, and of course, I didn't answer. Even though I ignored it many times, Mike kept calling. When I told Lisa, who came to see me, she said she also got calls and ignored them. but he apparently showed up at her in-laws' house. He insisted on seeing me, but she sent him away, saying it was impossible since I was in the hospital. Don't pay attention if he says anything. It's too late for him to realize your worth now. Lisa's words made me feel stronger. After Lisa left, saying she's going home for today, Mike showed up in my hospital room. Why are you here? I didn't tell Mike which hospital I was in. He didn't even ask. I went to my parents' house today. I saw my sister leaving with flowers, so I thought she might be visiting you. Apparently, he followed Lisa. Mike's persistence was scary, and I was confused about what he wanted. Then he hugged me. My illness came back. It turned out Mike's leukemia had returned. Even though remission is possible with a bone marrow transplant, it doesn't guarantee there won't be a recurrence. So, can you be a donor again? I was surprised by his bold request. I was fighting a serious illness, cancer, and my ex-husband who left me came back as soon as he got sick again. It felt too convenient. I don't care. Isn't it your fault? What do you mean? Didn't you have someone who supported you more than I did? Mike looked regretful when he heard me. His girlfriend broke up with him as soon as she found out about his illness. She said she could handle work, but not take care of a sick person in her personal life. You're the only one I can rely on now. Mike begged for my help, but I told him firmly I really don't want to. Are you going to leave me again when I'm sick? You were the one who left me first, right? Mike didn't know what to say to my response. And I'm talking to a lawyer about you. A lawyer? Oh, right. Child support for Kate. I'll make sure you pay. But I'm sick too. Our argument continued, and a doctor noticed the commotion and came into the room. The doctor stopped Mike, who was trying to grab me, and took him away. Mike was later handed over to the police. After being questioned, a restraining order was issued against him. Lisa came back to my room after hearing the commotion. After learning the details, she was disgusted by Mike's selfishness. I asked Lisa to testify, and after talking to my lawyer, I decided to claim compensation from Mike and his girlfriend. Mike was very hesitant, but his girlfriend agreed to pay immediately, like a severance payment. Since then, I've been slowly getting better. Lisa has been supporting me a lot, and even though Kate is still young, she's been cheering me on without being selfish. The cancer was taken out successfully, and there's no sign it spread. On the other side, Mike is still looking for a donor and seems scared every day. He managed to pay me the compensation by using up his savings, but it looks like he won't be able to afford child support for Kate. Because he can't pay child support, he's not allowed to visit, so he seems to be dealing with his illness by himself. I still have a good relationship with Lisa. After leaving the hospital, I thought I shouldn't bother her anymore, and I was thinking of moving out with Kate. But she got mad at me, saying I shouldn't think about unnecessary things. After recovering from being sick, she told me to spend freely until I saved enough money. I took advantage of her kindness and lived with her for a while, with the three of us. Since Kate really likes Lisa, we eventually decided to rent an apartment nearby. Even after saving enough money, we go back and forth between each other's houses. And now we have a relationship like best friends. I went through a tough breakup with Mike and got sick. But there are still people like Lisa who have been there for me all along. I might make Kate feel lonely, but I hope she grows up to be a strong, kind, and fair woman like Lisa. And I want us to continue getting along well in the future.